Well, happy Friday. This is Angela Hooper-Menifield of Menifield Associates, and this is your HR moment for Friday, October 11th, 2019. So sorry I'm a little later today. It's been a busy day. You may recall every other Friday I host a mastermind group with some clients of mine, so it's a great opportunity to connect, build relationships, and help the team grow. But in addition to that, it's also a great opportunity since I'm out and about and meeting clients to do a little extra socializing or do what I call connecting, right? So when we talk about connecting, which is different than communicating, we're talking about building relationships, rapport, getting to know people, and finding common ground. So Fridays are a great day for me to do that, and so today was just that day. So, as you all know, I tend to use the type of questions that I am asked in a professional setting as the segue to what we discuss in our HR moment. So today's HR moment is very interesting because recently I've attended some conferences and done some events where, in addition to the daytime training, workshops, seminars that are available to team members, there's nighttime fun. And so what do I mean by nighttime fun? I mean there's an opportunity for us to become more social, to relax, to get to know each other. Oftentimes, alcoholic beverages are served, right? There could be occasions where music is being played, there's dancing and things like that. So this is what we call that nighttime fun. And the question for me was, how do we keep that in check? So a supervisor friend of mine was sharing how they went to their room, but their team decided to have some nighttime fun. And in addition to the fact that the fun probably got a little bit out of hand, what can also happen is, I don't think we often realize, who else sees this? Videos, things like that. Even recently, I remember going to a conference. It was a social equity leadership conference at Rutgers. And, we had a night dinner and there was dancing and people were having fun. And then I look up and there's a video of me dancing on the internet, right? Now, my dancing was appropriate. I do group dances and things like that. But if I'm totally transparent, I don't know if I had my choice or was asked that I would have wanted that video. But again, it's understanding that anything that I do in a public setting is open for videoing and then sharing. So, back to the question, how do you remain professional? Because part of the professional role is to be hospitable, right? We want to show our clients a good time. We want to be respectful. We want to be gracious to the things that have been bestowed upon us. Yet, we don't want those lines crossed or to be viewed in a way that is not professional, right? So, certain things that I try to do, and I've just recently gotten to the point that I would do some of them, is one, I always remember though, this is still a professional event, even though it may be social. And so if I'm invited to the event on behalf of my organization, I have to always think about the fact that my behavior, and that's the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It is going to be viewed as a reflection of the organization. So when considering how do you remain professional in a social environment that you've been invited to, you have to ask yourself, if this image, if this video, if this photo were to end up at my desk with a future client, am I comfortable with it? If the answer is yes, then probably what you're doing is fine and the activities around you. But if you're not perfectly sure about that, I would always encourage you to err on the side of caution, right? I would rather be a little too careful than not careful enough. Now, sometimes with travels, international travels, for instance, it's very common for people to drink, even for non-drinkers. And I have friends and people who don't drink. And so, it's like, okay, well, maybe you get a club soda or you do something else. So you go to the venue, again, you accept the hospitality that's being bestowed upon you, but you always conduct yourselves in the way that you feel comfortable with. We all have different barometers, different bars, what we think is professional and not. So I'm not here to tell you what's professional and what isn't. I think we can all agree that certain things are unprofessional, like, excessive drinking, being sloppy, belligerent language, exposing body parts, saying unbecoming things, hitting and flirting on people, flirting with people and hitting on them excessively and things like that. So there's certain behaviors that I think we can all agree people should try to curtail. But the question then again is, how will it be perceived? So, who is the intended audience? Even what's the organization? Are there policies and procedures about how employees will conduct themselves? If there aren't, you may want to find out if there are expectations that you're not aware of. Again, it's not uncommon for people to not live up to expectations, partly because they don't even know what the expectations were, right? So finding out that languaging, what can we do, what can't we do? But again, what is your barometer? Do you understand your limits? Like, do you know how much you can drink? Do you get loud when you drink? Are you sloppy? Do you become emotional? And at what number of drinks does that happen? Then get a buddy, right? Get a work buddy. Somebody will hold each other accountable. Maybe that's something you can do. Again, if you don't have any problems with these things, then probably that's not the issue. But you may be the supervisor who has to have the conversation with the person on the team who did become out of order. So even when you have that conversation, you have to be clear on what the expectations were. Because while we might be offended and we might not think this was appropriate, were any rules broken? Are we assuming people got offended and maybe they didn't? So again, that's the other question as the supervisor. Be very clear and don't offend someone with your judgment or your standards, which may not be theirs. But if you do have clear standards on how you want your organization, your entity, your company, your collective represented, then say that. Say that in advance. There's some organizations, for instance, if you work for governments and people who have very strict rules with travel, if you are in a government vehicle, then you definitely cannot have a beverage that's alcoholic. If you have a government paid for rental, right? So even though other people may be drinking at the restaurant, the expectation is that you won't, not at all. And it's not about what's legal or not. You probably cannot drink. So again, if you understand the parameters, expectations, you can govern yourselves accordingly. But again, know yourself and talk to people who really know you. One of my favorite sayings is, sometimes the emperor has no clothes, and it's our job to tell the emperor, hey, dude, you have no clothes. Or, hey, dudette, you have no clothes. And so when you drink or when we have gatherings, there are times that XYZ happens. Oftentimes, if it's repeatedly happening, people could really have a blind spot and they don't realize their behavior is out of order. So I want to encourage you to be social. It's Friday. Some of you are watching this video and leaving right now to go to a happy hour that's work related, a chamber event, a social gathering. Well, you will be in the midst and in the company of other professionals. Again, we want to respect the hospitality, let people know we appreciate it, but never to the extent that we illy represent ourselves or our organization, or we put ourselves in a compromising position. Again, this is not a fault type of discussion. This is just, how do you present yourself in the most professional way? And I'll just be transparent. There have been some experiences that I have seen and observed. It's not uncommon that everybody doesn't have the same level of expectation as if I got a little tipsy, how it's viewed the next day or that next Monday morning in a staff meeting versus how someone else does, right? And so again, I'm just being transparent. All things are not equal. I'm not going to pretend like they are, right? So if we know these things, we should proceed accordingly. So as a supervisor, one, you want to let your employees know what the expectations are of them. And then as the employee yourself, whether you're a supervisor or not, understand yourself and always ask yourself, if footage, whether that's live video or still images, were to be posted or shown in the conference room come Monday morning, would I be okay with this? And if you cannot say emphatically that you would be okay with us showing that Monday morning at your staff meeting, I would say tone it down and do things a little bit more moderate. So, right, all things in moderation, okay? Have a great weekend. For those of you, again, that are going out and being social, have a great time. Be safe, be careful. But always remember to remain professional if it is a professional event. Thank you again. My name is Angela Hooper-Menifield of Menifield Associates, and this has been your HR Moment for Friday, October 11th, 2019. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.